Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my final reading recap for 2023, where I will wrap up the final quarter of the year and give you my overall 2023 stats. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in 2023, I decided to do quarterly reading recaps just to kind of better track my reading progress towards certain goals. And this is the final installment of that. So what I'm going to do first is run through all of my stats for the final quarter of 2023. Then I will share some overall reading stats from the year as a whole and share my top 10 books of the year. So that's how this is going to work. Let's just dive on in. This will cover the months of October, November, and December. So in those 3 months, I read a total of 36 books. I did not do any rereads, and I did not DNF any books. This came out to a total of 13,523 pages read. And in terms of the reading format, I read 19 audiobooks, 9 physical books, 2 ebooks, and 6 that were a combination of physical and audio. In terms of the types of books I was reading, I read 29 series books and 17 standalone books. And for series breakdown, I started 4 new series, I continued 8 series, I finished 7 series, and I DNF'd 1 series, which was Malice House by Megan Shepherd. I did a whole series recap, so if you want to check that out, I will link you up above in the cards. That will let you know all of the series that I am still in progress with. Now, in terms of how I came about getting the books, I did read 16 books from my physical TBR, and I borrowed 20 books from places like the library or Scribd/Everand, because this is when they made their change in their name. Now, for genres, I read a total of 12 different genres, which is very, very good. So my top genres for the last 3 months were thriller, which I read 8, fantasy, which I read 7, and historical fiction, which I read 6. Then I also had 3 mythology books, 2 contemporary books, 2 paranormal books, 2 horror books, and then 1 each of biography, sci-fi, dystopia, magical realism, and manga. In terms of the age range of the books that I read 16 adult books, 14 young adult books, 3 middle grade books, and 3 children's books. My ratings breakdown gave me 5 2 stars, 14 3 stars, 13 4 stars, and 4 5 stars. And then I always like to kind of end with my monthly favorites from each of the months. So my favorite book that I read in October was Cleopatra: A Life by Stacy Schiff. My favorite book from November was United We Spy by Allie Carter. This was the fifth and final book in her Gallagher Girls series. And then my favorite book from December was Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I did do a full December reading recap, so again, I'll link that up above if you'd like to check that out. And I will go ahead and link the other month's recaps in the description box if you want to go back and watch any of those. Now, in terms of purchases, I did a lot of purchasing in the final quarter of the year as I was gearing up for goals and things like that for 2024. So I did bring in 20 new books to my collection that I purchased myself, but then I also did receive some Christmas gifts, which are not in that total because I did not purchase them. So again, check out the December reading recap if you want to know what I was gifted for Christmas. Then each quarter, I always like to set some goals. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the goals that I had for the last quarter of the year. So the first one was that I wanted to finish my 23 in 2023 list, which I did do. I actually did a recap on that, so I will link that up above. I wanted to finish my 2023 series TBR, which I did do. I wanted to read one book of the month book per month, which I did do. So in October, I read The Stranger Upstairs. In November, I read Hester. And in December, I read Family Lore, and none of them were great. So I wouldn't really recommend any of them. Just saying. And then I also wanted to complete my TBR catch-up because I had a couple of books left over from previous TBRs that I wanted to read before the end of the year. I did read one of them, which was A River Enchanted, and then I decided to actually just not read Tiny Pretty Things. I've taken it off my TBR. It's just not something that I'm really interested in, so I gave up on that one. Now, in terms of my 2023 totals, I am not going to do every single stat, but I will say that in 2023, I read a total of 131 books, which is the most I have ever read in a year, and this does work out to 41,605 pages. So I'm very excited. I'm going to put a little graphic right here that I got from a website, which I will link down below. It was created by the brother of Grace Lim, who wrote The Portrait of a Thief, or A Portrait of a Thief. I'll put the cover right here, but he created this website. You can just go attach your Goodreads account to this, your link, and then it will create one of these for you. But I thought this was kind of nice, so I wanted to share it here. This kind of nicely wraps up 2023. Now, in terms of my top 10 favorites of 2023, these are not in any ranking except for the first one because I do consider this my favorite book of the year. So my favorite book of the year was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this in January and nothing actually eclipsed this. So this is my #1 book of the year. The rest of these could be kind of mixed and matched. I don't really have any order for them. So I also really enjoyed The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Casamano. The Good Left Undone by Adriana Trigiani. Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. Ring Shout by P. Jolly Clark, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So those were my favorite books of the year, and that's all I have for you. That is going to conclude this final reading recap for 2023. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.